Thank you, thank you. Can you hear me well?
I can. Yep.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, it's nice to meet you. I've got your resume pulled up here, and I was wondering if you could just kind of give me a high-level overview of kind of your experience and what interested you in this role.
Okay. Well, one of the things that interested me in this role is, the last couple months I had been working with, and I've been working in the healthcare field. I've also had a good number of insurance companies I supported. I want to take a step back and go into somewhat of a dive into me supporting several different Windows 7 to Windows XP to Windows 7 migrations. Initially in my career, I started off doing desktop support, so I was working with Travelers Insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, AIG. I worked with the Department of Urban Development, Medica, and several other places doing majority of the Windows XP to 7 migrations here in the city. My career kind of shifted a little bit going into end user computing. So that's pretty much like, they used to call it EUC. There was a bunch of different titles they used to use back in the day. But I started working for TCS, which is if you buy a burger or drive a car in India, they have something to do with it. They have a lot of different contracts with a lot of major firms here in the United States of America. And I worked at Boston Scientific, and Cargill was there as well. Then eventually I became a Citrix administrator. So I did that for a couple of years, and during that same time, I started becoming a technical instructor for the Microsoft certification program here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So a lot of the park boards, I developed a curriculum. The way I got that position is I was going to Metro State University, and I was talking to children about IT. And I would grab my coffee from McDonald's, and I'd go over to Metro State University at Energy Park Drive, and the instructor did not show up for several times, so they asked me if I could get stay. So I brought some of my friends, and I was kind of telling kids about TeamViewer and some of the different avenues that they might be interested in. So during that time, I ended up sponsoring maybe 2 or 3 children to get the Microsoft certification through a Microsoft Imagine Academy. So I paid for the certification and their exams. At the end of the year, I was awarded IT Professional of the Year from the state of Minnesota, and through the BDPA, they had a bunch of people that came from different companies, the Minnesota Supreme Court, and several different large sponsors that came to, kind of acknowledge a lot of the work that the kids was doing. So when they heard about my work through the Osiris organization, it's a nonprofit in Minneapolis, they said, well, hey, can you write a curriculum for adults? And I had already been getting a lot of my friends' jobs, so I agreed to do that. Did that for about 7 years. So when I was a Citrix administrator, I would get off work, drive over to the park board, and I would instruct. I did that till about September 2022. We had a very bright young lady that wanted to do technical instruction. I gave the community, 7 years of my life for it. I was tired, and so she wanted to kind of do it, and now she's at Google. So I did one last class, did an Azure certification class for had her kind of take the lead on that. So when I left Syntax in February 2019, I start school. They heard about my work, so they asked me to come over there and be a Salesforce administrator and be like a liaison in between the business and pretty much the business would be the school. It's a charter school, so you would have the principals, you would have the teachers, you'd have the students. It was a very data-driven organization. So I would kind of administer, Tableau, Salesforce, Form Assembly. I would work with some of the third-party vendors, and a lot of the local IT issues I was able to resolve because I had that system administrator background. So the managed service company that they had, which was Imagine IT, they would call me if they needed something like administrative rights, if they needed to remote in to do something that I could not do. After, there was a big layoff after that. So half the staff, due to budgets, how charter schools are, half the staff got laid off. So we knew kind of early on 2020 that everybody would be ending their positions in June. And so I took a 1-year contract with a medical imaging software. And if you have ever had an MRI, which is very unfortunate, those things are very, very loud, but they have these formats called DICOM and PACS. And what we did is we supported the software as a service back end, such as like Kubernetes and Docker and things of that nature. We worked in an agile environment across the full life cycle. We would kind of be like the front end for some of the physicians and the support that called up, and then at the same time we would be doing, system upgrades and working with Confluence and writing user stories in Jira, working with the software team. Again, my position kind of shifted as far as technology. My career shifted more into the data. I was working at Wells Fargo for the Gateway project. So what they had is they had these API payment systems. So when software developers would call up, we would render a ticket in Jira. We would look at the logs through Postman, Apigee, and Splunk. So it might be something like a SDK integration issue question. It might be a wire question or ACH payments. We would have maybe like a war room in ServiceNow if something went awry. So we manage all of our tickets in Snow. Well, they call it Snow now. So ServiceNow. We manage all our tickets in Snow, and specifically Jira, working with the product team, the treasury department, and implementation and onboarding. So I did that from about December 2021 to April 2023. And then I went over to a contract. They can only let you work a certain amount of time with a lot of their contracts. It might be like a year and some change or something like that, and then they have to let you off, and then if they want to bring you back in. By that time I got them as a business system analyst, somewhat of a lead, doing 60% lead and 40% break fix. So some of the same stuff I was doing at Wells Fargo, the difference was you're dealing with healthcare, with EHR, medical record issues, working with MDM, IDX. They were basically, if you ever heard of MyChart, basically it was United Health Group's version of MyChart, where you just log in, you're able to see your vitals, you're able to see your appointments. We were monitoring system performance with Grafana. Basically a patient might call up, typically level 1, level 2. I would be tier 3. So I would lead a team of about 4 or 5 people for back-end issues in regards to APIs and Postman, because the way that all of that electronic data works is through back-end data, through Postman or Insomnia. And so we would use Jira. What I would do is each day I would tally up the tickets, and I would export them to an Excel file, have a Scrum meeting maybe once or twice a day, and then I would divvy out the tickets and I would work on them as well. So I would say that would be pretty much, a bird's eye view of my career.
Okay. So now your time at Optum, where you're at now, most recently, the MyChart, you said you're tier 3. You said primarily for back-end issues. So is that typically patient end user input into the MyChart, like their portal, so to speak, patient portal?
Yes, it was a patient project. I should have put that on my resume, because usually when I talk to people about it and I say MyChart, people outside of Minnesota, I'm not sure if they use MyChart. So
is it Epic driven? I think Epic uses MyChart.
I believe so. Yeah. We didn't have to necessarily we didn't have to touch the Epic modules, but I think Epic is behind there. And then when it comes to the data, and when it comes to IDX and MDM and Rhapsody, these things in terms like the patient plans, and it might be like a vital image that doesn't come through, or it might be their immunizations are not showing up. We have to look at the back end of the API. So I didn't really talk with the customer. I talked with some of the insurance people. I didn't really talk with the physicians for that position, but level 1 and level 2 would come to us when there was an issue. Like they could do the password resets and some of the basic things. And so now with Fargo, the customer was the software developers. So that was the actual customer. Or it might be somebody that might have an implementation question. I need a little coffee.
Yeah, of course. Needed.
Well needed.
Your customers were the insurance payer in most cases?
Yeah, it will be the insurance group. Sometimes they would reach out to us. The customer would be the patient. It's just that I wasn't front end with the customer. So if the customer calls up, they don't get our group. They get level 1 and level 2. Sometimes they would get our group from time to time, but we would reach back and work and partner with level 1 and level 2 to make sure that these checks go through. For example, somebody might have like a gold plan or something. It will be a lot of different. I would have to basically open up these tasks in ServiceNow, and it will be several different departments that might have to make modifications to certain things in the patient portal. it might be a husband and a wife. Someone could get a divorce, or somebody might have a name change, or somebody might say, well, I don't want my stuff merged with his. I want it to be separate. There's been times where different patients, they had data that another patient was not supposed to have, but it could have been similar names or addresses, surnames, things of that nature.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. In terms of your customer base at, I guess, your most recent position, so what's the volume that you would see in a day or week?
Wells Fargo, you typically would see anywhere between 10 to 15 tickets a piece. Now Optum, we might get it could be 100 tickets a day, it could be 60, and then we split that down to maybe 14, 15 a piece. It all depends. And see, because they were doing a lot of testing, that's one thing we didn't know. We thought that we were coming on, initially it was supposed to be a contract hired position through the managed service provider Persistent for Optum. So we thought that it was going to be a long-term or a permanent thing. Come to find out, they just brought our team on. As soon as they were going to integrate the software, they were just going to cut everybody. So what they did is they did what they call global consolidation. They hired everybody in India because it was cheaper, and they basically told everybody out here, hey, so it was one of those situations. And as I seen some of the work kind of dwindling down, I was wondering, like, okay, is there going to be any other business system analyst positions open in that regard? But Optum, it's one of those places they were doing a lot of restructuring and organizational changes.
Okay. No, it looks like that was since January. Have you done anything since January up until now?
Yeah, I enrolled in a CCNA Cisco program. I also I did a little bit of help desk consulting. I didn't put that on the resume because it was level 1 stuff. It was kind of inconsequential, but yeah, I have been staying busy.
Okay.
And actively interviewing.
Okay. And what spiked your attention on this role?
Well, I think I was talking to the other representative from your company, and I was telling her that I used to watch Little House on the Prairie, and I watched all these old school kind of westerns and stuff like that, and I kind of thought about it. I was like, I wish my grandma had something where she she's 95. She's 95 years old, so she's been seeing all the changes of the century, and I was kind of like, I wish that she had something where somebody could just show up at her house. I thought it was very interesting. Another thing that I thought was interesting was, you guys were able to invest $200 million in capital to expand your access, which I had questions about, and I saw that Rubicon had acquired a majority stake back in December 2021. I seen that you were a growing company, and so I kind of like the idea of not having to necessarily go to the hospital unless it's a 911 issue. I thought that was interesting. When I seen the level of growth you guys had, and then with me seeing how you guys were kind of bringing back the old school method of people coming to the house, I have not seen that before. So it was definitely something I was interested in having a conversation about.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. Yeah, we're I would say it's funny you say it's coming back as something from before, which is very true. I guess we like to think of ourselves as innovative, I guess, in our time period, right? Just because it's something that nobody else does right now. It's certainly an underserved community that we can reach to, via house calls versus those that can go to a hospital or are ambulatory enough to make it to the doctor every day or have access to, right? So it is something cool and different that we provide services for as a company. To your question or to your statement about the growth and roughly 3 years ago, we were fully owned by St. Louis.
Oh,
Since
okay.
then, we were sold from Centene, and we were purchased by Rubicon, main investor, but mostly from investment groups we're split among mostly, and basically they're purchasing to grow us, and then obviously it ultimately sell us to someone, but certainly investment in our growth and our outreach across the nation for our services. So we're, the 200 million capital that you saw that we recently raised is certainly investment in technology. So we're certainly growing the technology area. We're reevaluating our full application suite. Just to make sure that it's setting us up to a place that we can grow and sustain and is scalable. Because right now our current EHR vendor and our current EHR platform isn't such. So we're just now looking at evaluating different EHR platforms and embarking in that journey.
Okay.
So that's going to be a big change for us.
Okay. Would you say would this be supporting more so of the patients or kind of the back-end software and the internal customers here at the company?
So our primary customer is going to be our end users, and our end users are mostly made up of, and our probably most frequent users are our providers. So the doctors that go out in the field and see the patients in their home every day.
Okay.
So our primary customers are providers, but then all of the supporting staff. So we have care managers, nurses. We've got a whole set of administrative staff. We have an internal lab. We have an internal diagnostics team, so a whole rev cycle team. So all of our end users for our applications is who our primary support is for.
Okay. Is that primarily phone support, email? Is it like a ticketing system you guys run?
Primarily phone and ticketing system, and we use a product called Man Service Desk.
Okay.
It's not a very well-known product, but yeah, we actually just upgraded it this past week, so we're in a new version of it.
Okay. And you don't use Jira, correct?
We do on the development side, but not on the support end yet.
Okay. Now with the development side, is that something in this position that I would possibly be engulfed in and reproducing issues and sending that to the developers?
It depends on the scenario. So most of our applications are third-party vendored. So in the case, yes, we would be working with the software vendor, escalating it in that manner and reproducing issues to that regard, oftentimes directly to the developers or whoever we're working with. There is probably one active and one application that is internally in-house developed that we work directly with our developers with, but I don't see us growing in that area as much as we're going to be purchasing software versus building it going forward.
Okay. With me being a former technical instructor, would there be opportunities to train people, train end users, and is that one of the requirements of the position as well?
Absolutely. So, I mean, first and foremost, I think training each other on the team and just being an asset and a role model in that regard and a leader in that space. But also anytime, there's certainly a significant amount of training opportunity just on the phone talking to an end user all the time. What we're struggling with now is just standardized workflow, standardized instruction, standardize anything is something that we're really putting a lot of effort into. And from every touch point on the phone or within a ticket, I think there's always a training opportunity there.
Okay, so standard operating procedure, documentation, things of that nature. That's one thing that I failed to mention earlier on. When I with them, they really did not have any standard operating procedure. It was pretty much a pass and go. So that's one thing that I did have to work on because initially there was a lot of people that were leaving. And so a lot of times I come in and they say, hey, we need a dashboard for Salesforce, or not Salesforce, but we would like to have a dashboard of, how many tickets you have. And I said, well, who owns the dashboard? And most people, they said, I didn't know. And it wasn't a situation where I think people were purposely trying to withhold information from us. It's just that they had contractors here left and right. And a lot of the contractors, they know they're getting ready to leave and someone's cutting them. They're a little salty, so they may not be so quick to give up, the tools and stuff. So I had to kind of dig around in some of the dashboards. And once I found out what we needed, I said, we could just modify it from there. And when it comes to ServiceNow, I mean, you could they pretty much had their own customized, dashboard. And all we basically wanted to know is how many tickets got closed over a certain amount of time after they start pushing, because they would just push stuff over the weekend and just break it. They wouldn't tell us. So we would get up Monday morning. I had to reclassify all the tickets and things of that nature. And then we were able to kind of see okay, since the fix, does this work? And you could go back into Insomnia and then you could recheck and see, hey, did they see their vitals now? Go ahead, close the ticket.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I understand.
How many calls do you think you get a day or tickets per agent?
It's fluctuated. So let me pull up our stats real quick. We're certainly growing. So we do have a team of 7.
Okay.
And within that, we're looking at on average, I'd say incoming calls about 1,200 per month.
1,200.
And then roughly 2,000 tickets per month.
Okay, so that's probably 60 calls a week. Oh no, 60 calls a day, or no? I guess I was thinking per person. So this would be more, would you say, like a help desk environment?
It is.
Okay.
It is more of a call center help desk environment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we do have it's a little tough to do it by tech, only because we do have tiered support. So within our team of 7, we have 2 seniors and a team lead. So we've got our frontline kind of tier 1, I guess you could say, level techs, and then from there we have a senior who's ranked, I guess, lower in the queue, so that if the other first 4 are unavailable, then the senior will get the call, and so on and so forth. So we do rank them a little bit based on skill set.
Okay. And are you guys Central Standard Time or Eastern?
So we do work cross country. We have offices in all states. So our right now, we might be asked to expand here soon, but right now our calls center hours are from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. So it is a benefit that you're in Central Time Zone to kind of offset some of that for us.
Absolutely. What would you say the learning curve of the position would be, and expectations for an application support specialist within, first 60, 90 days, 6 months, things of that nature?
Mm-hmm. So I would say to become truly proficient and up and running as a tech, roughly 6 months, 6 to 9 months. And the reason I say that is it's all very application specific workflow, very business driven. It's not, unfortunately, something that's, we don't use standardized, 365, that's just kind of straight across the board. It's very specific to our setup of the application. We use an EMR called Aprima.
Okay.
It's not a very widely known among the industry. It's they kind of specialize in small 5 to 10 doctor practices. So not something at an enterprise level. We're unique. We're one of their largest customers, which is also why they're not scalable for us at this point. So we're very, clinical, workflow driven in what we support and what we do.
Okay. So you probably wouldn't be using, we wouldn't use Splunk, right?
Correct.
Okay. What would you say is like the work autonomy? And I looked at the website, and it's beautiful. In fact, it's very minimalist, and it looks like everybody's having a good time. What can you say about working with coworkers and how the team is, the culture, company culture?
Yeah, so funny you say that. We actually just completed our employee engagement survey for the year. And so last year, our engagement rate was 58%. We've jumped up to 72 as a company, which is great. So that was our participation percentage. And then our engagement level has also increased by 5%. So the good news is I think leadership is interested in learning and understanding, what us as employees are looking for and what we need to be successful, and they're listening and they're responding to that is what I take from that. So that's good. That I would say that's a breath of fresh air, given under our new ownership and our new leadership versus what we had legacy. I've actually been at this company for 13 years, so I've seen a lot of change over time. Yeah, and I would say the new area in which we're driving towards and going is very promising. The team, I would say, makeup is all pretty much longevity as well. I think the newest person, he was hired, I would say, just over a year ago. He's the newest member, but beyond that, we've had longevity of, I would say, probably ranging from 5 to 10, 11 years. In fact, the person that this role is, we're backfilling someone who just left, and she's been here for, I think, 8.
Okay.
She's changing a completely different career path. Unfortunately, we lost her, but yeah, we've got some longevity in the team, which is promising.
Okay, so you say it would be a good amount of upward mobility working at this company.
Certainly, we're like I said, we're growing. We've got that large investment coming. Our application portfolio is completely switching and growing. We're about to go live with Salesforce here at the start of start of September. So we are engaging our teams from a clinical end, and then also our engagement team from a call center and engagement outreach standpoint for new patients here in September. So it's a big change for us, and that's a growth opportunity. Certainly is within that Salesforce space.
Okay. Now you want to be candid. I haven't used Salesforce in a while. But the way I learned about Salesforce, I didn't know anything about it. And I was taking Trailhead, which is a very good training program. So I'm still familiar on being able to open up the sandboxes and stuff. Salesforce, not sure if you've used it a lot, but Salesforce, when it comes to their permissions, it's kind of like Active Directory on steroids, because there's a lot of layers. It's not what you change, what you see, and what you change that's just there's underlying underbellies of the permissions, and then once you might click one thing and make it go public, and you say, well, other people can't see the dashboard, so it takes some adjustment. It looks simple. I mean, it's simple, but it's complex, I guess I could say.
Yeah, no, I'm learning it as we go as well. And user management and user access, I'm learning is quite more robust than initially thought.
And are you using Classic or Lightning?
So one of our business lines is using Lightning. We're using Classic on the clinical side. So we've got multiple iterations of Salesforce and modules right now.
Okay. All right. I was trying to think of, I had a question, but I had written it down somewhere on my phone. I don't remember what it was. It was something else. I can't remember what it was. I guess you could go ahead and ask me some stuff if and then maybe it'll come back.
Yeah. So just to be fully transparent, this role also requires our team members to rotate through an on-call rotation. Mm-hmm. So being available after hours and then on weekends. I think typically with the team it's every 6 weeks, every other month.
Okay.
Volume isn't too high right now, but you get a stipend for being on call, and then also time and a half for any time that you worked during on call.
Okay. I'm familiar with being on call. When I was a Citrix administrator, we would have pager duty, also kind of a similar rotation in which when I was working at Flywheel as well, we had pager duty. With Kubernetes, the way that the backend infrastructure works, they would have what they call these pods. So if you ever think about Star Trek, the Borg, if one goes down, they don't necessarily all go down and they self-replicate, but if for some reason they don't come back up, sometimes you have to go into the pods and then kind of reboot them. So we were doing stuff like that. With the on-call, are those typically system outages or more just application support issues?
Typically application support issues, so anything that's basically patient impacting or work stoppage is usually what our kind of two rules of thumb that we handle on call.
Okay. And what level of technology and technical expertise would you say would you need to be able to resolve these issues?
I would say level of expertise. It's mostly, I would say, the biggest thing is troubleshooting.
Okay.
Because our scope of what we support and the things that can come to us at any point in time is so vast. We can't expect you to know everything 6 months in, right? So understanding, I think, how to troubleshoot, reproduce the issue, and then if you have to, knowing who to escalate to and when and how.
Okay. I remember what it was now. It was I was told the last conversation that there's it was a 2-part question. I'll do the first part. Possible travel to sites, or it was something about traveling somewhere?
Yeah, so traveling for this role is going to be minimal. I think the job requirement required us to put some percentage in. I put 30 as kind of an arbitrary number. Really, the only travel that would be required is in some cases if or when you had to do a ride along with a provider, it'd be perhaps in the case of just more of a training opportunity and insight into kind of how, what their interaction is with the technology and the application. But secondly, in some cases, if you're in an area, near an office, we might ask, hey, can you do a ride along or do a site visit? This particular provider is really struggling, might be a training opportunity, type things like that. And or if we've got group, on-site meetings or event, something of that nature. It's very rare. I would say maybe once or twice a year, if anything.
Okay. And you guys are located, is everyone pretty much remote?
Yeah, we have a couple. So we have two kind of headquarters right now, one in Troy, Michigan, and the other in Nashville, Tennessee. Right now, I'd say more of IT is based out of Troy, Michigan, because that was our legacy corporate headquarters when we were previously owned, and we have a test data center there, and all of our hardware is housed in warehouse there and repurposed there. So we do have some techs on site in Troy, but outside of that, everyone's remote.
Troy, how far is Troy from Detroit?
Roughly 45 minutes north.
Oh, okay. No, I've been looking on. I've been seeing all these TikTok videos these kids been posting, and they got all this good food out there. I mean, all kinds of sandwiches and fries and hot dogs, and I was like, well, our food is okay up here in Minnesota, but it ain't like Detroit or Philly or something, So.
Yeah. So, I think we are at time. I do have to jump to another meeting, but appreciate your time, Derek. And if you have any other questions that come up or anything that you think of after, please feel free to reach out to Angela, and her and I are in contact continuously. So at this point, you're actually my first interview, so we're very early in the process. Likely what'll happen is we'll bring you back for a second interview with some of the teammates to meet them and understand the dynamics, make sure culturally we fit together and things like that. But after that, I would say expect to hear.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation.
All right. Thanks, Derek. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All quality was excellent. All right. I'm getting kind of hot. I could take this off now. All right, y'all. So look, I was kind of hoping that one would go. It went decent. There was nothing wrong. I don't have any complaints. You're not really going to be dealing with no Splunk. You're going to be dealing with a lot of their applications. So now the next one shouldn't be really technical. She really couldn't tell me too much that was really technical. So really the conversation was more about, they were just trying to feel you out. They seen that, okay, you got some health care, you got some medical insurance. You got some medical insurance experience. So that's okay. So I said I got 1 year dealing with one medical, and then you might as well say another year dealing with medical, and then several different years of insurance. So in all, when I look at the insurance sector, I got well over 4.5 years. So I was kind of hoping that it would have just been that one. I didn't know that it was going to be a third, but they did mention before that it could possibly be a third. So let's see. They're still going through their interview, so I don't know if it's going to be one next week. And if it is, I'm hoping that it could be early in the morning, just in case I happen to do that other little shindig, which would be second shift for a little while. So yeah, I just got to manage the stuff. I'm still waiting to hear back on the project coordinator ordeal. I got another one coming up here in the next 15 minutes. So, and that one is only a couple days a week. So, hey, it's something you got to keep an eye on. So I'll load that up for y'all in a little bit.
Hello.
Hey, Cole, this is Derek calling. Sorry about that. For some reason, people have been calling me. I don't know if it's because of the Apple phone, but they said that they've called and they just didn't get in. I don't know.
Understandable. No worries. We got you now. Okay, so this position that we are talking about, we are Source One Solutions. We are a managed provider. We are located in Clearwater, Florida, and this is for our client that we have up there. This is a 3-day per week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, for an initial period of 3 months with the possibility to extend to 6 months. Is that something that's okay with you?
Yeah. That's actually,
Okay.
I pass by there quite frequently, right there in Oakdale, by the old IMA quarters.
Okay, great. It's in, I just put the address, So we're looking for a PC technician. So the client there, is a global client, with field-based employees in wider Europe, Africa, and Middle East. So kind of this is on a global level, just so you know. Provide on-site and remote support to end users for diagnosing, troubleshooting, and resolving ICT problems. So ICT problems, information and communication technology problems. I don't know why they put that in there. Provide on-site support for local infrastructure, network, video conferencing, printers, administer and manage Microsoft Cloud, SaaS, and PaaS environments, including Microsoft M365 and Azure platforms, ensuring optimal performance and security. Handle licensing, administration, and asset management, ensuring compliance and efficient utilization of software and hardware resources. And then, of course, collaborate with internal teams, stakeholders to support the ICT projects and initiatives, and contribute to the overall improvement of the IT infrastructure and services. And then document, process, and maintain comprehensive records of ICT operations, incidents, and resolutions. So they're looking for somebody, who has managed and can troubleshoot M635 and Azure environments, proficient in networking principles, such as Cisco, and understanding of IT infrastructures, and then experience in licensing, administration, and asset management. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. What have you been doing? What are your strong points, and what you don't know and what you do know?
Well, I haven't been dealing with a lot of the Azure and the Cisco stuff, but what I will tell you is I come from a desktop infrastructure background. Initially, when I started off with my career, I was working at AIG, Travelers, Blue Cross Blue Shield. I was also working at the Department of Urban Development, Medica, doing a lot of the insurance company migrations from Windows XP to Windows 7. Eventually, I started doing some Citrix administration for a managed service company for a few years, and then I was a Salesforce admin for a school. After that, I took a 1-year contract at a medical imaging software company in kind of like an agile environment, and basically working with a lot of containerization software such as Kubernetes and Docker. And recently I've been doing like a lot of API support for working in the spaces of payment support, doing support for the software developers in ServiceNow, and looking at Splunk and Postman and Insomnia, writing user stories with Jira, things of that nature.
Okay. So what about the license? Have you had experience with that licensing, administration, and asset management?
I mean, asset management in terms of when I was doing desktop support, I did that, a long time ago, because I haven't been doing a lot of on-site stuff for some time. In terms of licensing support, I didn't really do a lot of the licensing report except for like issuing out Office 365 licenses and things of that nature.
I think that's all it really is.
Okay.
To be honest.
It's giving out the license and stuff,
Which leads me to my next question. So the client does want to kind of vet and talk to whoever we want to put out there. So is that something that you would be comfortable doing? Maybe having a 20-minute, 30-minute conversation with them on a Teams meeting sometime this week?
Absolutely. Now, do they want that on a video call? Go ahead.
I think 9 times out of 10 it's a video call, but you don't have to have your video on.
Okay.
What times are available that you could do?
Okay, let's see here. Friday, I wouldn't be able to do anything till after 2 o'clock. But I think, let me check my schedule here. I'm just waiting on 365 to open up. It's taking forever. Why is this taking so long? Okay. It's thinking. Okay, so I'm pretty much open, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay.
And then anything
Any
after
particular morning or afternoon?
Yeah, morning or afternoon. And then on Friday, it would have to be after. Let me see here. Yeah, Friday would have to be after 2 o'clock, but any of the other days is fine.
Okay, great. And I just want to make sure, I'm pretty sure I have your email address. It's the Derek, DerekAlanPearson @gmail.com.
Yeah, that's the one. The other one I was using because I had enrolled into a Cisco program, so I was using like the the class emails that they have for 365. But yeah, that's my email that you'll want to contact me. And you said this is a contract. You said it's a 3-month contract.
It could, yeah, and it could extend up to 6 months.
Okay, so it would be, you said 3 days a week, so 8 hours a day.
Mhm.
Okay, and then, what would the training look like? Would that be kind of going on site and then going in there through them, or?
Yeah, that would be like with that interview question, you would ask them. Definitely.
Okay.
Because I don't have insight on that per se. I just have the job description. So that's why no matter what, we always do the vetting with the client. So any questions, extra questions that you may have or they may have for you, then you guys can do that, and then we'll see, and then see if you guys like each other.
Okay, absolutely.
That's
and so,
what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And so,
All right.
I would, this is a couple more questions. So I would be contracting through Source One Solutions.
Source One Solutions. Mhm.
Okay.
For
And
our client, yes.
for your client. And then now, they wouldn't mention rate. That would be something I discussed with you guys.
Correct. So I have a pay at $30.
30. Okay. All right. That works.
Okay. All right. No problem. Yeah, rate or anything kind of HR administrative would be discussed with us. There is pretty much just the day-to-day. That's what you would discuss with them. Okay.
Okay. Cool. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Derek. I'm going to send you out right now and let them know your availability.
Okay. And yeah, as soon as I hear something back from you, I'll respond.
All right. Thank you so much. And yeah, if I can't get a hold of you, I'll text you like I did. Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Now that's even quicker. Now they talking about 3 days a week. That was the one. Now on Indeed, they got it from 23 to 35 an hour. And this is a contract. They really should be going for that 33 to 35. But I said, okay, 30, 3 days, and then I could probably do my hustle on the rest of the other kind of days until something else comes up. Reason why I consider that, it was close. It's a couple days a week. I could still get my grind on. That might work. So we'll see.